And welcome to another FAQ Monday. I am your host, Fluff. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you all got stuff that you didn't know you wanted or cared about in this horrible, horrible year. Or I hope you got to spend it with your that's probably not right either. You know what? Yeah. You experienced Christmas as a single person, maybe. All alone. Happy holidays. What's a blind spot in the music industry that you think gear manufacturers are missing out on? That is a great question, Michael, aka @LovesThePizza. I love the pizza too. Blind spots in the gear industry or in the music industry that you think gear manufacturers are missing out on. I think they're super late to simple things like touch screens. Why doesn't the Fractal XFX3 have a touch screen? Why am I still on a joystick scrolling through stuff? That's one. The integration of digital and hardware, or things like impulses. You know, I just did the Rev Generator Mark III amplifier, you know, and that has stereo impulse responses. It has a torpedo live or a 2-notes torpedo circuit built into it. We should have seen this stuff years and years and years ago. There should have been the integration of more versatile features in amplifiers a decade ago. But, you know, manufacturers are so afraid to either fail or not get it right the first time, or they're too busy pinching pennies, etc., etc. You know, you don't see the innovation that you once did in, I don't know, the 80s and 90s, which is a weird thing to say. Because in the 80s, you know, you had the MIDI thing going on and the rack gear and all sorts of just crazy stuff coming out. Companies would just try it. And then if it didn't work, they just, you know, you didn't see it the next year. But yeah, I think there's a lot of technical marriages that should have happened a long time ago that are just now starting to happen. Namely, touchscreens on processors and other gear, and the integration of digital impulses and things like that. Out of all the humbuckers you've tried, whether they were free, purchased, sponsored, etc., what has been your favorite of all time? Ooh, good question, Steven. Good question. I don't know if I could pick just one, because I wanted a different pickup for different things. Before you say, and you said pickups don't matter in your beard files 3 years ago. No, I said, do they matter? I asked the question. Do pickups, aftermarket pickups, matter as much now as they once did? And my answer is no. That's not to say that they don't matter at all, though, because they of course do. Having said that, having ranted like an old man yelling at a cloud, the one that comes to mind actually is in my RD, just off camera. The DiMarzio Fortitude is absolutely one of my favorite pickups ever. I was blown away by that pickup. Behind the scenes, so DiMarzio had asked, hey, we have some new pickups. Do you want to try anything? And they weren't asking for content necessarily. They were just like, we have some budget to send out stuff. Do you want to try anything? Like, there's this new fancy weird Steve Vai pickup, and I was like, no thanks. Oh, Joe Duplantier from Gojira. I'll try the Fortitude. Yeah, what the hell? And then like a month goes by, and then something shows up in my at my doorstep. Eventually, I got around to not liking the pickups. I can't even remember what I had in the RD, and I got the covered Fortitude, so I put it in with no intention of making a video, and I put it in, and I strummed the first chord, and I was just like I couldn't believe it. It's so even and balanced sounding, and it's not crazy hot, but like it's real percussive, as you would expect for, you know, something like a Gojira pickup. But yeah, the DiMarzio Fortitude is absolutely up there, and I am not affiliated with DiMarzio at all. The Fishman Keith Merrow pickup is something that I have in all my tour guitars. Again, not crazy hot, but real responsive, real dynamic, and works with just about everything. Seymour Duncan Invader is very, very nice. And the Guitarmery Voyager, I think it's called, that I have in my other tour guitar, my Dustin Kensrue, my TV Yellow Dustin Kensrue that I used in the live stream, if you saw the live stream that Drake Dunder did. Because of the circuitry, I want to keep the circuitry how it is with the ability to split into a helix. So I kept it passive. I didn't put Fishmans in it. But instead, I took out the stock Dustin Kensrue pickup and I put in a Guitarmery Voyager pickup that I bought. And it sounds awesome. It's smooth and very percussive, not crazy hot. See a common denominator here? Yeah, those pickups, some of my favorites ever. What are the benefits of a roasted maple neck? That is a great question, actually. I would say, well, okay, well, technically, you don't have to finish the maple neck in, you know, what you would traditionally see on like an old Strat, just like this big clear poly sticky finish. If you roast the maple, you can basically not finish it, and you can have that bare wood feel and know that, you know, moisture is not going to get into the wood. But really, the main reason that I think it's used today is because it makes whatever wood grain pop, which is why like my Music Mans with the roasted maple necks have just like this crazy flamage going on. Well, the roasting process makes that pop. But I would say, you know, it's very good if you don't want a sticky old school clear varnish or a finish on the neck or the fretboard or the back of the neck. So if you like that bare wood feel, like a naked baby's butt, that was weird and awkward. Then you get roasted maple necks. Let's get to the next question. What riff do you play when you first step on stage for sound check? Ooh, Jordan with the hot questions. Okay, so there's three go-to riffs that I do to when we have to sound check. King of the Rotten, Corrosion and Conformity. Dun, 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 dun. This is a weird random reference. You guys aren't probably even gonna know this song. Perry Mason, Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde. Down, I play that riff because it gives the sound guy a very wide breadth of frequencies if I'm doing pinch harmonics along with chuggies. So he can, you know, when he's sweeping and trying to dip frequencies or whatever he's doing, that riff's a good riff. Or the third one is one of my own riffs. I don't even know, it's been so long since I played it on a video that you guys would know that. It's kind of like a classic fluff riff. I really like that riff, so I play that as well. Combination of those three, generally speaking. Will we ever get a Diezel amp review like the Herbert or VH4? Dr. Delicious, AKA @real Dr. Delicious, because there's a fake Dr. Delicious. Maybe. It's tough because I'm friends with Boutique Amp Distribution, who put out and make the Soldano stuff, the Friedman stuff, the Tone King amp stuff. They handle distribution for the US for Diezel, and the chassis arrive and then they shell them. However, whenever those amps come in, they're already sold and spoken for, because that's how Diezel works. They're made to order. So there's rarely excess amps for me to go, hey, can I borrow one? Because I would love to borrow one and get some Diezel on here. I should revisit that though, and ask, because yeah, I've never had any. I've had the Diezel pedals on here, I think, but yeah, I've never had a Diezel amp on here before. And I like Diezel amps, most of them, some of them. Yeah, I will try. 2021, we're gonna get Diezel on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, hopefully. What are your thoughts on some of the weirder bands of the 90s, such as Primus and Radiohead, even if the latter isn't really that weird? I think You know, at the time, I was a kid at the time, right? So like, you know, in 1993, I was 13 years old. My birthday's in November, so most of that year I was 12. But, you know, at the time, the mentality was just different. It was less of getting better at that same genre, as opposed, you know, to like in the 2010s where you had metalcore bands trying to be a better metalcore band. Back in the 90s, you had bands trying to be the best band that they could be, whatever style that was, and it was totally acceptable. You know, you look at, I mean, even Woodstock 94, the biggest show of the 90s, you know, you look at that lineup and you have Green Day, Metallica, Rollins Band, you know, then you had Candlebox, and then you have just a very eclectic, you know, Primus. You had a very eclectic lineup of artists, and it was just acceptable back then. Like, I don't know, at the time, you never really thought about it. You just go, cool, unique band, cool. Oh, that's another cool, unique band, cool. Because Soundgarden does not sound like Rollins Band, does not sound like Primus, does not sound like Fishbone, does not sound like Jane's Addiction, does not sound like Red Hot Chili Peppers. So, you know, it was just all the colors of the rainbow were out and represented and accepted. Today's music listeners are very, very close-minded, and you really have to ease them into something. I mean, you know, look at Bring Me the Horizon. You know, they've taken like 5 albums to kind of just ease into something else, which is okay. But yeah, I embrace the weirder bands. Weirder bands are awesome, and they give us all sonic flavor. Thoughts on Dingwall basses? Worth the cost for unique tone? I like Dingwall basses. We had one in the studio recently, a couple months back, recording the second Dragged Under record. It sounds good. It sounds really good. It's very, very tight and percussive, and they sound phenomenal. They definitely do have a distinct sound, and they don't work with everything. However, it sounded pretty cool. I don't know, some of my music producer studio friends don't like them, but they sound good. They sound real good. The one we had in the studio was our guitarist Sean's, and it needed setup and needed new strings really bad, but we couldn't find any strings because we couldn't find any that were long enough. So yeah, but it sounded good even with dead strings. I think we used that on a couple of songs. So yeah, whether they're worth the money, that's strictly up to you. I would love to get a Dingwall in here, just to have in the studio, like an NG2, the Denali bass. Oh, so sick. They definitely have their uses though, for sure. Do you still use the Jimmy clip or a different method? I do use the Jimmy clip here in the studio. I have a couple at my desk at all times when I'm tracking, clip it on. Most of the time you will see tape, a thin thing of gaff tape around right behind the nut on my guitars, for 2 reasons. One, my Music Mans have a curved, they're curved coming off of the nut going to the tuners. And the Jimmy clip is straight, so a curved surface, and straight, it doesn't work at all. But the second reason is when I was using them, if we would be on tour and I would be doing a string change in the dark next to, you know, or in a weird green room backstage or something like that, you know, anywhere I could find a surface to change strings, I would forget or lose the Jimmy clips often. And that's frustrating. So I just stopped using them live. They're great, they work great, I love them, but I use them myself for the studio primarily. And that does it for this episode of FAQ Monday. If you have a question, tweet at me, leave them down below in the comments or whatever, and we will get to you on a future episode, I promise. Fluff out. If you enjoyed the video that you just watched, please consider subscribing. It helps me, help you, and then in turn you get more stuff to watch. And also, I have all sorts of stuff down in the description of this video. Sweetwater giveaway stuff, there's all sorts of links to all sorts of things, so consider checking that out as well if you're gonna hang. But if you don't hang, all good. I still love you.